Hey everybody, this is Tom Brennan from Homebrew. During this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to make a yeast starter. It's really simple. It's actually important to put a yeast starter together a couple days before you brew, because what's going to happen is that you'll have enough little soldiers, enough yeast to tackle the beer that you've just made. I'm doing this on a Thursday evening. I'm going to be brewing on a Saturday. Now, some of the yeast I'm going to be using today, there'll actually be two different strands of yeast that I'm going to have. This first one here is a Yeast American Ale 2. It's 1272. I actually made this from a fat tire clone that I did a couple of weeks back. And then this is actually from the Irish Ale yeast from White Labs. It's WLP 004. This was actually made from a sweet stout that I did as part of a parti-gyle, and I'll explain what that is in just a little while. And over here on the your far right, is actually what I did when I washed the yeast. And that's where these are coming from. These are all coming from washed yeast. What I did just a little while ago before we started the video was I drained a lot of the excess liquid off of here because what we really want is the yeast, which is all the way down at the bottom. Speaking of the fat tire clone, I actually have some of the fat tire clone beer right here in this great beer bag. This beer bag is available at ddidit.etsy.com. This is a little shout out to the director of this particular film here and this particular tutorial. It's a great bag for carrying around your home brews. You can bring it to folks' places. You can even give it as a gift. And there'll actually be a coupon link at the comment section underneath the YouTube. The other thing I have here as well is because we're doing homebrew, you have to make sure that you're drinking a homebrew when you're doing something with a homebrew. So this is actually a watermelon wheat beer that I had toward the end of the summer that I made, and it is really quite delicious. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start making our yeast starter. It's a really simple process. I read up a little bit on this with Basic Brewing, and also I want to give a shout out to John Palmer as well. Since I'm doing a parti-gyle, what we're actually going to be doing is creating two separate yeast starters. So I will be in the tutorial putting double the amount that is required for a yeast starter, but I'm going to talk to you specifically about how much you're going to need to do a yeast starter. First, about parti-gyling. When we started doing all grain, or when I started doing all grain brewing, it is actually really easy to make a parti-gyle. All you have to do is add a little extra DME, dry malt extract. You could add some other grains. And essentially what you're doing is making two beers out of one batch of beer. So that's why I'm doing two yeast starters today, because on Saturday I will be creating an Irish ale, an Irish strong ale I should say, and then with the second runnings of that, which is what parti-gyling is, there's first runnings, which is for a higher gravity beer, and then the second runnings, I'm actually going to be making an American Rye IPA. So the American Rye IPA, I'm going to use the 1272, and with the stronger Irish Ale, I'm going to be using the WLP 004. Back in the olden days, what people had done with their parti-gyling was that the higher ups in society would get the first runnings, the higher gravity beer, the more alcohol content beer, and then they would make second runnings, which was for people of a lower class, and then third runnings, and sometimes even fourth runnings. But we're not going to get into that today, and I probably won't ever wind up doing that, because what's the point of drinking a beer that's 2% alcohol? Okay, so let's go ahead and start making our yeast starter. Again, I want to mention all the ingredients I'm going to be talking to you right now about, and you'll hear my voice talking about, will be for a single yeast starter. You may see different quantities as I'm doing the video because I'll be making two separate yeast starters out of it. Okay, so what we're going to need to get the yeast starter going are a couple of things. One would be a half a cup of dried malt extract. You're going to add that into a half of quart of water and bring that to a boil. The combination of the DME and the water will give you an original gravity of 1040. What I also recommend, if you do have on hand, is a quarter teaspoon of yeast nutrient. Of course, that's optional. Is it available at a homebrew shop? You may want to use it later on if you're going to be dealing with higher gravity beers, or maybe even making mead, or even a hard cider as well. About 10 minutes toward the end of the boil, so halfway through the boil, you want to make sure to put a lid on top of the pot. After the boil is done for 10 minutes, you want to make sure to take the pot, put it in a sink filled with cold water. You could even add some ice to it as well. At this point, you want to make sure that everything is sanitized, because at this point, you pretty much made a tiny little beer. You can move the pot around in the sink if you'd like to, and you want to do that till it gets to about 80 degrees or less. At that point, you want to pour your little wort into a gallon jug or a flask using a sanitized funnel. Then at that point, take your yeast, make sure that it's at room temperature, so you want to make sure to leave it out for a little while before you start doing this. At that point, you want to aerate your little wort, if you will, so you can shake it around for a couple minutes, get that air flowing in there. Then at that point, you want to cover the vessel with an airlock or maybe some aluminum foil or plastic wrap. Make sure that that's sanitized as well. Once you put the aluminum foil or plastic wrap on there, you want to use a rubber band to just tie it right on top of that. Then at that point, all you really have to do is put it in a dry, cool place. Then on brew day, what you could do is you could either dump out some of the excess liquid that's on the top because you really want to have the yeast, or you could just dump the whole thing right into your wort and you're ready to go. Alright guys, I want to thank you for watching. You make sure to subscribe to my channel. Just a couple of quick shout outs. You can check out my WordPress blog at hypobrew.wordpress.com. Don't forget ddidit.etsy.com, and there'll be a coupon at the bottom of this video. Again, thanks for watching, and make sure to relax and have a homebrew. Take care.